Ever heard of a lion so tough its hide was impenetrable? A beast that laughed at swords, spears, and arrows? This isn't just some campfire story. It's the tale of the Nemean Lion, the first monster on Hercules' legendary to-do list. Get ready, because we're diving deep into one of the greatest mythological showdowns of all time. So, who was Hercules? In ancient Greece, he was the ultimate superhero, son of Zeus, king of the gods, and a mortal woman named Alcmene. This made him a demigod, blessed with superhuman strength, but it also put a giant target on his back. Zeus's wife, the goddess Hera, was not a fan of her husband's affair, and she despised Hercules from the moment he was born. She was the master villain in his story, relentlessly trying to destroy him. Her cruelty culminated in a moment of pure tragedy. In a fit of madness sent by Hera, Hercules tragically caused the tragic loss of his family during a divine madness. When the madness lifted, he was shattered by grief and guilt. Desperate for redemption, he traveled to the oracle at Delphi, a sacred priestess who spoke for the gods. The oracle told him he must serve King Eurystheus of Mycenae for 12 years and complete any 10 labors the king demanded. Eurystheus, by the way, was a cowardly man who was secretly influenced by Hera, so you can bet these tasks were designed to be impossible. And so the 12 Labours of Hercules began. For his very first task, Eurystheus, probably with a smirk, commanded Hercules to bring him the skin of the Nemean Lion. This wasn't just any lion. This creature was a monstrous beast, often said to be the offspring of the fearsome monsters Typhon and Echidna. It had terrorized the countryside around Nemea, a valley in the Peloponnese region of Greece. Its main claim to fame, its golden fur was completely impervious to any mortal weapon. Spears would shatter, arrows would bounce off, and swords would dull against its hide. The lion was a walking, roaring fortress. Hercules, ever the hero, set off for Nemea. When he arrived, the scene was grim. The hills were silent. The fields were empty. Shepherds told him tales of a beast that stalked the land, its roars echoing through the valleys. No one dared to venture out. Hercules, undeterred, began his hunt. He searched for days, tracking the beast through the desolate landscape. He armed himself with his trusty bow and a quiver full of arrows, a massive club carved from an olive tree, and a bronze sword. He was ready for a fight. Finally he spotted it. The Nemean Lion was even more terrifying than the stories described. It was enormous, its muscles rippling under a coat of shimmering gold fur. Its eyes burned with a ferocious intelligence, and its claws were like sharpened daggers. Hercules took aim with his bow and let an arrow fly. It struck the lion square in the flank and simply bounced off, clattering uselessly to the ground. He fired another and another. Each one met the same fate. The lion wasn't even scratched. It just turned, let out a deafening roar that shook the very ground, and licked its side as if shooing a fly. Hercules realized his usual weapons were useless. This was going to require a more hands-on approach. He dropped his bow and charged, brandishing his mighty club. He swung the massive piece of wood with all his incredible strength and brought it crashing down on the lion's head. The impact was so powerful that the club, a weapon that had crushed armies, shattered into 1,000 splinters. The lion was dazed, stunned by the sheer force of the blow, but it was far from defeated. It shook its massive head and lunged at Hercules. Now it was a brawl. Hercules dodged the lion's razor-sharp claws and saw his opening. The lion had retreated into its lair, a dark cave with 2 entrances. This was Hercules' chance to trap it. He quickly gathered rocks and blocked one of the entrances, ensuring the beast had no escape route. Then he entered the darkness of the cave through the other opening. Inside the cramped, dark cave there was no room for fancy moves or weapons. It was pure brute strength against pure brute strength. The lion lunged, and Hercules met its charge. He wrapped his massive arms around the lion's thick neck, bypassing its impenetrable hide entirely. This was no longer a battle of weapons, it was a final struggle for survival. The lion thrashed and roared, its powerful claws striking with incredible force, but the demigod's grip was like iron. He squeezed, channeling every ounce of his divine power into his arms. The cave echoed with the sounds of their struggle, the growls of the beast, the grunts of the hero. The lion's struggles grew weaker and weaker. Slowly, agonizingly, Hercules tightened his hold, overpowered the beast completely. Finally, with one last shudder, the great Nemean lion went limp. The lion was finally defeated. Hercules had defeated the undefeatable. But the labor wasn't over. Eurystheus had demanded the lion's skin. Hercules tried to flay the beast with his knife, but the blade couldn't pierce the magical hide. He tried sharpening the knife on a rock, but it was no use. He was stumped. How could he skin a creature whose skin was unbreakable? Then, a moment of inspiration, some say guided by the goddess Athena. If no weapon could cut the hide, what about the lion's own claws? They were sharp enough to tear through anything. Hercules carefully took one of the lion's own razor-sharp claws and used it to slice into the golden fur. It worked perfectly. He skinned the beast and slung the magnificent, impenetrable hide over his shoulders. He returned to Mycenae and presented himself to King Eurystheus. When the king saw Hercules draped in the skin of the fearsome monster, its head worn like a helmet, he was so terrified that he dove into a large bronze storage jar to hide. From that day on, Eurystheus was too scared to meet Hercules face to face, and would only issue his commands through a herald. The Nemean lion's hide became one of Hercules' most iconic attributes. He wore it as armor for the rest of his labors, a golden cloak and helmet that made him virtually invincible. It was a trophy, a tool, and a symbol of his first great victory. It represented his ability to overcome the impossible not just with strength, but with cleverness, using the monster's own power against it. And what became of the lion? The gods, impressed by its ferocity, placed it in the night sky as a constellation, so its legend would never be forgotten. That's right, the constellation Leo is the very same Nemean lion immortalized among the stars. So the next time you look up at the night sky and see the constellation Leo, remember the story of Hercules and his first labor. A tale of impossible odds, incredible strength, and the quick thinking that turned a monster's greatest strength into its ultimate weakness. This was just the first of 12 impossible tasks. The challenges ahead would only get harder, stranger, and more dangerous. From battling the multi-headed Hydra to capturing the fleet-footed Ceryneian hind, Hercules' journey for redemption was just beginning. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this dive into Greek mythology, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more legendary tales. Let me know in the comments which of Hercules' other labors you'd like to see next. See you in the next video.